Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. Going to be making a wonderful condiment from North Africa, preserved lemons. Now in this video I'm going to preserve these lemons with this salt. I think that gets the record for the shortest introduction I've ever done. Right, so let's get on with this very simple thing. Washing and drying my lemons and then cutting them up. This is one technique where you don't cut all the way through, you sort of crisscross it and you would use that gap in there that I'm showing you to fill with salt, but it's not necessary. I just cut that into quarters. So into quarters they go. I've got tons of them. There's not an exact recipe for this. It's just lemons and salt. You can add some other aromatics like herbs, spices and things like that, but I've kept mine very, very simple and plain. So you build up layers of salt and lemons. I'm using a sea salt. I think kosher salt was great, and you could probably just use table salt. I'm sure it would be fine. What I'm doing here is squishing, getting the lemon juice to release as well, because the juice is going to mix with the salt. That is the brine in which these lemons are going to pickle and preserve, or also known as a confit, for like a year at least, I would say. Keep them in your fridge. They'll keep for, I don't know, maybe even 2 years. And you can see, just keep going. Salt, lemons. You'd be surprised how many bits of lemon you can fit into a jar. Make sure that the lemons are below the level of the brine, and then, you know, get them in the fridge. So there we go. I got through quite a lot of lemons there. I think it was half a dozen lemons and probably about half a kilo of salt. Label them, pop them in the fridge, forget about them for at least a couple of weeks. This is 3.5 weeks later. So I'm going to showcase them. This is not full-on recipes. This is just ideas that you can use preserved lemon for. This is how I prepare mine. I remove the fleshy bit and the pith. The fleshy bit you can use if you like in a stew, but be very, very stingy with it. It's incredibly salty and it can overpower and potentially ruin a dish. But the zest is just kind of got this just wonderful lemony zesty flavour, but it's hard to describe it. Incredibly savoury as well. So I've cut some into strips, I've chopped up some, and here we go. I'm going to race through this. I'm not going to describe the whole recipe here, but this is me making a tagine. I've got some onions and some herbs and some spices, garlic, and baharat. That's a very useful spice to get. If you like making Chinese food, you use 5-spice. Baharat is kind of like that, but with those lovely North African flavours. Very hard to describe, it just works. That's me, because I don't have a tagine, creating that slightly askew lid there, which allows some of the steam to escape, but some of it hits the lid and then drops back in, and that's what the chimney bit, part of a tagine, does. But nothing is quite as good as a tagine. I've added some fruit, some olives, some cauliflower, top it up with water when it's required, and let that simmer on the back. So some couscous, and again I'm going to use a bit of preserved lemon in this. There it goes. Also put some saffron in there. That's some harissa technique for making couscous, just sort of in a bowl, just slightly over up the top with boiling water. Obviously this is the cheating way of doing it. The proper way is to steam it. Let that stand for 10 minutes or so, put some fresh herbs in there, and that's that. What else can we do with preserved lemons? Well, we can add them to some wonderful tomato on toast called a dakos, which comes from the island of Crete, which is a Greek island. It's really lovely. So you sort of grate the tomatoes to get the pulp, season that, and again, some of the preserved lemon, of course, in this case, and let that sort of marinate for a little while. And traditionally that would be sat on a piece of soaked rusk bread, but in my case I'm just making like a sort of bruschetta type crouton. What else can we do with it? Well, I thought there's a really lovely dressing called grabiche, or sauce grabiche, which is French, which is like a hard-boiled egg chopped up with capers and gherkins and herbs and shallot, and it's really nice. But I thought, well, let's do a deconstructed one. So I've got the capers, the gherkins, a bit of red onion, finely chopped. I'm going to turn that into a dressing. I like to do it in a jar because it's just dead handy. Bit of mustard, bit of vinegar, bit of oil, give it a shake, and there you go. That's a nice dressing. That'll keep in your fridge for blooming ages as well. And here are some sort of semi-soft boiled eggs. So those are like 7.5 minute eggs. I think they're just great. I love them like that. Spoon over the dressing, over the top, some parsley, and of course, why not zhuzh it up with a little preserved lemon. And then arrange your work for the morning on a board, so that people watch this video and go, well, that looks nice. I like that, Uncle Matt. And yeah, that was the tomato going on top of the bit of toast, finishing off the tagine. And I think the idea with tagine is similar to paella. You know, you serve it in the pot, so you want to make it look nice. So a couple of eggs on the top, some roasted red pepper and some pine nuts. Pop a lid on there to let those eggs sort of steam through. That looks nice. Obviously, that would normally be coriander, but we don't use coriander in my house. And that is preserved lemon, of course. This is a preserved lemon video. And at the end of this, you're going to be going, I'm going to make some of that. And I am going to hand you back over to me for the tasting. So, this is not a authentic tagine, but you get the idea. It's those North African flavours, Moroccan flavours, where the preserved lemon comes from, and it is wonderful. It just adds this background, really savoury, lemony flavour. It's subtle, but it's really, really nice when it's cooked in a stew like that. What else have I done here? Deconstructed sauce grabiche, which is basically a boiled egg dressing. I've just done it in a fancy way, which I think looks really nice actually. A twist of preserved lemon is delicious. And then this is based on the Cretan or the Greek dakos, which I think gives bruschetta a run for its money. And again, the lemon there, it's just lovely. Thank you very much for watching Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. If you're this far in, I really appreciate it. And every now and again, I will ask you please to give me a thumbs up and comment, because those are the sorts of things that YouTube really like. And if you think my channel's all right, not too awful, I would really appreciate that. Anyway, see you in the next video coming really soon. Bye.